Well, good morning to everyone who's on my recording today, and to Meg and Valerie. Thank you so much for being my students this morning. Even virtually, it's nice to have students if I can't have students in the room. So today we'll begin in Supta Baddha, and you can place a little bolster or a big bolster or a blanket roll right down your spine. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. And snuggle your shoulders down and towards your bolster, the earth, your blanket, whatever you have this morning. Start to connect to your breath. You can remain exactly as you are. I'm going to sit up for a moment to share a passage this morning. It's extremely windy here in Northeast Ohio today, so this was an appropriate passage, even though I didn't choose it before I knew that there was going to be a giant windstorm. And this is a book from Ashley Perez called Read This for Inspiration. This passage is called Stay in Your Lane. One of my favorite poems is Desiderata by McFerren, at least in part for the way it makes me think new things upon each rereading. In it, a passage near the beginning goes like this: if you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Comparison will kill you because no matter who you are, someone will always be better than you, and someone will always be worse than you. It is both maddening and freeing to acknowledge this truth. The best advice I've ever received came from my friend Kinta, who first showed me Desiderata. She told me to stay in my lane. She said, I'm in my lane and you are in yours. Neither lane is better than the other. We all have our own thing. Her success didn't mean I wouldn't also have success one day. It just meant we were on different paths. Staying in my lane has provided me with tremendous peace, as I now know that my lane, my path, my dharma is my own and has nothing to do with anyone else's. Whether you listen to Max Ehrman or to Kinta, remember that you are in competition with no one but yourself. I think this is a great reminder when we're on mat and we're looking left and right at other people. That's the beauty of doing Zoom when you're in your room. If you're looking at your cat or your dog, you're going to be better than they are, right? No competition there. And this day in Northeast Ohio is just a reminder to not get blown off course and to always stay in your lane. So if you're on a bolster on your back or a blanket, you can kind of release that from underneath you and make sure you just have some space underneath you, nothing resting underneath your spine. And begin to bring yourself straight down onto your back and draw your knees in towards your chest, circle your knees. And circle them in the other direction. Give your knees a big squeeze in towards your chest. Maybe roll your nose up towards your knees. And then place your feet on the floor in front of your hips. Keep your left foot on the earth and draw your right knee into your chest. Give it a healthy hug here. And then keeping that left foot on the earth, begin to make some nice big circles with that right knee. You can use your right hand to guide the circular movement. And make those circles in the other direction. One more big squeeze in towards your chest. Lengthen your leg and extend your heel to the sky. Point and flex your toes. Maybe circle your toes in the air. And Don't worry about stretching your leg completely long, especially this hour of the morning. Let your knee be a little soft here. One more hug in and send the right foot to the earth. Draw the left knee in, give it a healthy hug. And taking your left hand onto your left knee, begin to make some nice wide circles here. And take those circles in the other direction. Another hug into your chest and send the sole of your foot up again, interlacing hands behind the left hamstrings. Point and flex your toes, maybe circle them in the air. And then draw your knee back into your chest, another hug, and set your left foot down. Open your arms to goalpost or to a T shape, and shift your hips to the left, drop your knees to the right. If you need a block underneath your knees, by all means place a block underneath your knees if that full twist is too much right now. Maybe take your gaze to your left hand, maybe not. Enjoy a twist, breathe into your whole left side. Take one more long breath in and out here. Begin to shift your knees back to center. Place your feet on the earth, shift your hips to the right this time. Knees go to the left. Again, you can tuck a block under your knees. Maybe take your gaze to your right hand or elbow. And hang out here for some breath. Take one more deep breath in and out. And slowly make your way back to center. Begin to draw your knees in. You can either roll to one side to come up to sit, or you can rock and roll yourself forward and back a few times as you rise up into an easy seated pose. Grab your strap now, or if you don't have a strap, maybe a tie on a rope or something of that nature. If you have your little bolster and you want to sit on that or on a block or blanket, feel free to do that. Grab that strap and bring it up and above your head. So in a big Y shape. So your arms are definitely wider than your shoulders. And let your shoulders relax onto your back. Swing your armpits back a little bit. You can even circle your shoulders a few times back, creating some softness there from the tops of the shoulders to the low earlobes. We'll take a little bend to the left. So take a little side bend over to the left. Reaching out of that right waist. Keep the left arm long as well. Connect to your breath. Connect to the softness in your shoulders and your jaw. And as you inhale, return to center, take that little side bend to the right. Stay anchored in your left seat and really reach out of the left ribs, the left arm, but keep the right arm steady as well, so you have that tension in the strap. One more breath. And slowly come back to center. Now, a couple of options here. You can either bring the strap behind you and use that, or you can interlace your hands at your low back. So your choice, if you're using the strap behind your back, if an interlace of the hands is too much this morning, turn your palms towards your hips. Switch the cross of your legs now. And adjust the flesh away from your seat. Either interlaced or your strap behind you, take a breath and begin to bow forward. I'm actually going to take a little block here and place it at the highest level. Just a place to put my head. You can stack blocks too. And I'm going to lift my arms up and away from my sacrum and kind of floss that out. So relaxing both shoulders and shoulder blades, begin to lift and lower your hands away from your sacrum. You can also just bow forward and lead with the chest. And one more time, lift and lower your hands, just getting those shoulders and the chest open this morning. And release it down. If you've got the bind, release your hands, and you can place your strap off to the side. Fold the soles of your feet together and your knees apart now in Baddha Konasana. So again, if you've got blocks and you want to stack your blocks to place your head on, you're more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, place your hands on your ankles or your feet and lead with your heart. If you can get there and then place your forehead on the blocks easily, do it. If not, just stay with an open heart. Notice how this upright version of the supine version that we started with might feel a little different, a little more intense. One more breath here. Completely let it go. And begin to bring yourself back up. Place the sole of the left foot just to the instep of the right foot. So we're coming into a twist, but not a full half Lord of the Fishes twist. Bring your right hand to your left knee, your left hand behind your seat. Draw your belly in, sit tall. Easy but long breaths here. On your next exhalation, begin to slowly unwind. Drop that left knee. Give your knees a little wiggle, your seat a little wiggle, and we'll take it to the other side. So bring the sole of the right foot to the instep of the sole of the left foot. Begin to bring your left hand to your right knee and your right hand behind you for a twist. Sit well, find your breath again. Easy breaths, but long breaths. That wind is crazy out there. One more long breath in and out. And as you exhale, slowly unwind. Again, soles of the feet together, knees apart. Give yourself a little rock. And we'll move towards table pose. So draw your knees together and walk yourself around. So if you'd like to use a blanket to pad your knees, if that is appropriate for you, feel free to use that blanket. Otherwise, bring your knees underneath your hips and your hands underneath your shoulders. I'm going to set my blocks right up to the top of my mat because I'll use them eventually. And I'm going to switch here. Coming into a tabletop, begin to move through a few rounds of cat and cow. Nothing fancy, just a simple cat and cow to get connected to your breath. Let it be a little wiggly, maybe peeking over each shoulder or making some space by rolling the hips in circles, whatever makes the most sense for you this morning. Working away any of the pops and cracks from sleep, any of the sleepiness that is still in your body. And coming back to a neutral spine, begin to extend the right leg back and the left hand forward, coming into a bird Draw the low belly in, deep breath in. Complete breath out. One time, bring that left hand in to meet the right knee. Hang on to it and give a little hug to the midline of the mat. As you inhale, place the left hand down, extend your right leg, bend your right knee, kicking your heel into your seat. Take a breath here. Drop your knee towards the floor. Fire hydrant that knee out to the side and bring it right back to where you started. So imagine that you're making circles with your knee. So bringing your knee down and out and back to center. 2 more times. Bring your knee down to the side, around, and center. 1 more time, down to the side, around, back to center. 1 more time, hug your knee to your nose. Extend long bird dog, left hand, right leg. Exhale, hand and knee to the floor. Take yourself back for a child's pose or a puppy, and just flip those palms up to the sky to give your hands and wrists a break. Give them a wiggle. Take note of the right and the left side of the body and how they feel a bit different at this point, maybe a little unbalanced. We'll get there. And replant your hands on the earth, rising back up to your table pose. Find bird dog second side. So the left leg goes back, the right hand goes forward this time. Find as much balance in your hips as you can. Draw your belly button in towards your spine. Deep breath here. And as you exhale, 1 big hug. So bring the right hand to the left knee, hang on to the left knee, press strongly into the left hand. Inhale, extend the left leg and place the right hand back on the earth. Kick your left heel in towards your seat. Take a breath here. Begin to drop that knee down towards the floor and all the way wide, fire hydrant, and bring it back to center. Drop that knee towards the floor, fire hydrant wide, and bring it back to center. 2 more times. Drop your knee to the floor, wide, and center. 1 more time, drop towards the earth, take it to the side, and all the way back to center. Find that bird dog again. Extend right hand, left leg. Take a breath. And bring your hand and your knee to the floor. Child's pose. Big toes kiss, knees apart. If puppy is working better for your knees this morning and floating your hips above your knees is better, then take that shape. Return yourself to a table pose and move through a few more rounds of cat and cow from here. Again, just getting the fluid moving in the spine, the big hip joints, shoulder joints. Making that space that we need to continue in the practice today. Come back to neutral and grab your blocks. I'm going to kind of angle myself here. Grab your blocks, step forward with your right foot between your hands, or between those blocks. We go back through your left knee so it's slightly behind your left hip. Coming into this low lunge shape. And pause right here. Just let yourself get really heavy. Find your breath again. Settle into your hips. Let them do those hoppy, cracky things that they need to do when they wake up. And then uncurl the left toes. Press down into your left toenails as if you could lift the left knee away from the floor, but you're not lifting the left knee away from the floor. So just notice the feelings, the sensations in the front of the left hip, the hip flexor, that whole region in the front of the hip. Draw your belly in. Notice what that action does. Now you can keep your toes uncurled or curl them for stability and rise interlacing your hands at your low back, or grab your loop again and use your strap. Extend your knuckles to the floor, doing your best to keep your elbows a little soft. Heart extended forward. Draw your belly in. Long breath in. Keep that chin parallel to the floor. Long breath out. One more time. Nice full breath. And full exhale. Release your hands back to the blocks. Now curl the left toes, lift the left knee, high lunge. Stay right here for a few breaths. Feel the squeeze of the right heel towards the left toes, as if you had an imaginary line down the center of your mat, across your mat horizontally, and you were squeezing both feet towards that imaginary line. Stay heavy in the hips, keep that hug between the feet. Bring that left heel to the floor now and come into a warrior one shape. So left heel dials down and the arms lift up. Warrior one. I'll turn a little bit here. Kali Mudra the hands. So steeple your fingers, thumbs are loose and connected. Index fingers reach up. Keep squeezing your feet together and lift your heart the tiniest bit. Take another breath here and slowly release your hands back down to the blocks. We'll take a short flow through here. So bring your hands to the earth, pop the left heel up, and step back to your version of plank pose, high or low, knees up, knees down. Take a breath, come down to the earth, exhale. Uncurl your toes, Sphinx pose or Cobra pose, your choice, 3 breaths. Glide your hands underneath your chest, coming into either puppy dog or a downward facing dog this morning. So maybe it's not the longest dog, maybe it's not full length. That is completely fine. It is an early morning practice, so bend your knees, get your seat to the sky, and press strongly into both hands. Feel the armpits slightly lift, the shoulders broaden. Easy breaths here. Drop back down to table, and we'll do the second side. So grab those blocks and step your left foot through between the blocks. Again, wiggle the right knee directly behind the right hip and hang out low on the blocks for now. Again, just adjusting to any of those pops and cracks of the hips on this side. And then uncurl those right toes again. And press strongly into the right toenails. Draw the low belly in. Feel those sensations in the front of the right hip and hip flexor. Any little wiggles or something that makes sense to keep yourself here for a few breaths, take those. Begin to rise up now. You can keep the toes uncurled or you can curl them. And interlace your hands at your low back, or again, bring that strap in. If you can switch the cross of your thumbs to the awkward cross, go ahead and switch the cross of your thumbs as well. And then drawing the shoulders back, elbows towards one another but soft. Draw your belly and lift your heart, keeping your chin parallel to the floor. So draw the throat back softly, ears back softly. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Continue to find that imaginary horizontal line across your mat and squeeze your left heel in and your right knee in towards that imaginary line. Begin to slowly release the bind and hands to the blocks. Curl the back toes now, lift up, finding high lunge for a breath. Send your back heel down to the earth now for Warrior One, Kali Mudra. So rise up, steeple your fingers. Again, maybe taking that awkward cross of the thumbs and fingers. Oh, that's a weird one. And then extend up through the armpits, fingertips. Squeeze to that imaginary midline on the mat. Take a deep breath in. Full breath out. Feel that extension and breath through the sides of the body, through the spine. One more deep breath in here. And as you exhale, bring your hands down. Find those blocks again. Pop the back heel up. Drop your knee and flow through as you like. So again, coming to plank, high or low. Knees, chest, and chin, or chaturanga to cobra or sphinx. 3 breaths. Focus on keeping the spine long, the elbows soft. Shoulders away from the ears. 1 more breath. Come all the way back, puppy dog or downward facing dog again. Curl your toes and lift your seat to the sky. Bend and lengthen your legs a few times. Again, just waking up the sleep from your body, giving your hips a little wiggle. Drop your knees back down again, returning to table. We'll start with that sequence again. So adding on, bring the blocks back in. Step through with your right foot again, coming into low lunge. Uncurl your toes, press down into the toenails. And now notice the second time if that left hip flexor in front of the hip, the quads feel a little different. Keeping the toes curled, uncurled, or curling them, interlace your hands at your low back and bind. Lift the heart, elbows soft, chin is parallel. Release your hands back to the blocks, curl your back toes, this time coming into high lunge first. So reach your arms up. How wonderful those arms. So open your arms to a nice big T shape. Elbows soft, shoulders soft, squeezing your feet to that imaginary line in the center of the mat. Reach your hands up, Kali Mudra. Spin your left heel to the floor, Warrior One. Take a breath and bow, as if you were coming to humble warrior, but tapping out over that right thigh. Squeeze your feet to the center of the mat. Take a long breath in. Long breath out. Inhale, rise back to how wonderful arms. Lift your heart. This time, lift your gaze. Exhale, release. Bring your hands back to the earth. Flow through or don't. Meet me in puppy dog or downward facing dog. Your choice to flow through. Take your time. Otherwise, come straight back to your dog pose. Take a few breaths in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Bend and lengthen your legs. And drop your knees back to the mat, second side. Left hip foot comes through between the blocks or between your hands. Take a breath here, wiggle back through that right knee, uncurl your right toes. Press down into the right toes, squeeze to the midline of your mat. Interlace your hands at your low back, lift your heart, curling the shoulder blades back, shoulders back, chin is parallel. Squeeze to the imaginary midline. Begin to release your hands back to the blocks, curl your right toes, lift your right knee. Reach your arms up, high lunge. How wonderful those arms. So opening your arms to a nice big T, roll the shoulders back, and keep your elbows soft. Keep squeezing to that imaginary midline for stability. Kali Mudra, the hands, steeple your fingers, and spin that right heel to the floor, Warrior One. Inhale, lift up. exhale, bow forward as if you were coming to humble warrior. Keep squeezing to the imaginary midline, tacking the left hip back. As you inhale, rise up, open your arms again. How wonderful those arms. Lift your gaze this time. Sweep your hands all the way up, all the way back down to the floor, and step back, plank pose, high or low, making your way through a flow or coming straight back to dog, eventually meeting in a puppy or a child's pose. So get yourself to that shape. And take your time by all means. Stay exactly as you are. I'm going to sit up for a moment, reconnect to your breath. Relax your jaw and your shoulders. Continue to pay attention to the rise and fall of your belly, your back body. On your next breath, return to your table pose or your downward facing dog pose. We'll begin to make our way up to the top of the mat now for a standing forward bend. So if you're in table, cover the knees and walk forward. If you're in dog, tiptoe those feet up to the top of the mat. Lift and spread your toes. Keep your knees soft, soft, soft. Shake your head no and yes. And keep your seat, your tailbone, your sit bones nice and high, folding from the hip creases and not from the back. Using your blocks or using the earth, lift up to a flat spine. Inhale. Exhale, let it all go. Shake it out. No and yes. Inhale, rise to a flat back. Exhale, let it go. One more time, lift halfway. Firm your core, hands to the waist, rise to stand. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now I would invite you to use a wall if you have a wall, if you're feeling a little imbalanced this morning. We're going to do a baby dancer pose, so again, a nice little quad stretch. So you can either be on the mat, bring your left hand to your heart, spread your left toes, and reach back for that right ankle, just hugging it into your seat. Maybe extending your left arm or placing it on your hip. Or if you have access to the wall and you're feeling imbalanced, put your hand on the wall. Keep your knees close, like you have a block between your thighs. Heel draws in towards your seat. Draw your low belly in, and imagine that you could drop the very base of that thigh right above the knee towards the earth. And take another breath in and out from here. We're going to step this right foot back to extended side angle. So hover that heel right at your seat, and then step that right foot back, bringing your heel down, elbow to thigh. Bring your right hand to your waist, and we'll hang out here in this version of extended side angle first, and then maybe taking that block behind the foot after we take a few breaths here. So give yourself some space here. Squeeze your feet to the center of the mat again. Roll the top ribs open, right shoulder open, throat draws back, ears draw back. Again, if you have access to a block and you'd like to place your hand behind your shin at whatever level you're able to, you're more than welcome to do that, or stay exactly as you are. Keep that right side body open and long. One more breath here. And begin to slowly turn your chest back towards the floor. Step yourself up again to a forward fold. So spin that right heel up, big step forward, bend and stretch your legs. Whole left and right side are going to feel completely imbalanced, so that's okay, we'll get there. Lift to a flat back, exhale, forward fold. And lift to a flat back, switch your hands to your waist and rise up to stand. We'll take that same baby dance around the second side, so right hand to the heart or to the hip or to a wall or out to your side for balance. Lift and spread your right toes this time. And begin to kick your left heel in towards your seat. Again, keep your knees close like you had a block between your knees. Imagine you had a big circle of energy right above that left knee, and you were dropping that down towards the floor, and that will help you get into that hip flexor just a little bit more. Draw your low belly in, stand tall, and breathe. Find steadiness in the breath. Single point of focus. Stay in your lane. Begin to release this left foot, stepping it all the way back to an extended side angle. So maybe hover it there or be really imbalanced like I am this morning. And then step all the way back into extended side angle, elbow to thigh. Back foot should be parallel or slightly turned in from the back of the mat. And keep rolling the left shoulder, left ribs open. Again, if you have access to a block behind your shin or your ankle, you can bring that there, bring your fingertips down. Keep rolling the top ribs open. Or stick with elbow on thigh if that serves you better. Keep squeezing your feet to that imaginary midline of the mat. Another breath here. And take your gaze to the floor, chest towards the floor. And pop that back heel up. This time we'll step back into plank pose for a flow. So step back, right foot meets the left, knees, chest, chin, chaturanga to the back bend of your choice. And moving towards that downward facing dog shape, or maybe table. We'll be transitioning to a pigeon pose. So extend your hips either in table or in dog pose. From table or from dog, and again, you can do it from either direction. Take your right leg up and back for three-legged table or three-legged dog. Stack your hips, maybe bend and stretch your leg. Maybe circle those toes or circle your knee in the air. And begin to extend the leg, balance the hips, bringing your right knee wider than your right wrist for pigeon. Now with this being said, I know we're on Zoom here, so if you guys have any issues with an upright pigeon like this, take a seated pigeon, crossing your ankle over your thigh, or supine ankle over thigh. If swan pose works better, you can bring your knee and your heel in line with the long edge of the mat and kind of sit on your heel instead. So any of those options are good alternatives for pigeon. Bring your shin, doesn't have to be parallel to the front of the mat, but your right heel can be close to the left frontal hip point. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Woo, that wind is crazy. And then bring some balance to your hips and sacrum here before you bring yourself to the floor. If you need to tuck a blanket or a block or that little bolster underneath your hip, do that. Give yourself a place to settle into. Come down, take a few breaths here. As you settle in and you notice how the hips are feeling, maybe how the left hip flexor is feeling at this point, You're more than welcome to uncurl those toes. If it's in your practice, in this moment, maybe you want to bend and stretch that left leg, flexing your heel in towards your seat, or even pointing your toes and bringing your heel into your seat. We've already done quite a bit of quad and hip flexor opening this morning, but it is morning, so pay attention. Maybe you take a bend in that knee and bring your left forearm to the floor and reach your right hand back for a little bind and a twist. There's something to do. Find some resistance there. Or stay with a pigeon wherever you are. If you have a bind, begin to release it. We'll start to make our way out of pigeon pose. So if you're on your back or seated, bring yourself to a pose of release. So that might be a three-legged table or a three-legged dog or a simple child's pose. And coming back into table pose, move through a few rounds of cat and cow, rinsing out the spine. Again, rinsing out the shoulders and the hips. Come back to your table or to your down dog, and we'll switch sides. So again, either from table or dog, extend the left leg, maybe stack those hips and bend and lengthen your leg, or circle your knees or your toes in the air. Just making some space. Extend your legs, square your hips, and begin to bring your left knee to the outside of your left pinky finger. Again, that left shin doesn't have to be parallel. Make the shape in your body that serves you. So seated pigeon, supine pigeon, whatever makes the most sense for you this morning. As you get up there into your pigeon and wiggle back through your right leg should be parallel to the long edge of the mat. Squeeze your inner thighs together to get settled and find some balance here. You might be able to go an inch or two deeper. And as you settle in, if you need a blanket or bolster underneath your left hip, place it there. Maybe you want to uncurl those right toes as you come down. Come down, settle in. And again, you know your options here as you settle in. Find your breath, you can stay. After a few breaths, maybe a little mobility in that right leg. So bend and lengthen your right leg. Maybe take a twist. A bind. So always places to go, but as we know, yoga is not a competitive sport, so do what works best for your body and stay in your lane. If you have a bind and a twist, begin to release that, slowly coming back towards a more traditional shape, and then sliding your hands back to the floor. Find that pose of release again. So three-legged table, three-legged dog, maybe a stack of the hips, or a child's pose, table with some hip circles. So many great options. So pay attention to what your body needs. We'll all meet in child's pose as we complete those poses of release. Get reconnected to the rhythm of your breath once again. Return yourself to a table shape, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Connect to your core once again and your breath, moving through cat and cow. If coming to forearms makes more sense for you at this point, come down to forearms. Come back to neutral spine. Wiggle your knees back, a print, and bring yourself down to the earth. So you might need your strap here if it's challenging for you to reach your ankle in half frog pose. So this is called Ardha Vikasana. It looks very much like baby dancer. We're on our bellies, so no balance involved, which is kind of nice. So shimmy your hips here. You can take this from a Sphinx pose. But if your low back is kind of cranky, I would bring your forehead down to your left forearm instead. So you can either bring forehead to left forearm or hand and place it on the earth, bending into that right knee to reach back for your ankle, or staying up in a Sphinx pose, you can even position that left forearm parallel to the top edge of your mat. So take the pose of your choice, whether your forehead is on the earth. If you're upright, really engage your core from here. Pressing down into the left toenails, begin to bring your right heel in towards your right seat. Maybe flex your foot, maybe point your foot. And if you can get your hand into a shape where you can really relax that shoulder, that's optimal. Maybe you'll just bring your heel in towards your seat and not connect your hand in any way. Press into the left toenails. Wherever you are, engage your core. If your forehead is down, you can engage your core a little more lightly than if you're upright. You need to be a strong engagement in your abdominals if you're in that Sphinx posture. Protect your low back. One more breath here. And begin to slowly release that right leg. Give your hips a little shimmy from side to side, and we'll switch sides. So again, bringing your forehead onto your right forearm, or coming into a Sphinx posture with that right forearm, or even parallel to the front edge of the mat. Knees stay close, left heel comes in. Reaching back for that left ankle, you can draw it in towards your seat. Try not to lose connection with the earth with your left thigh or with your right toenails. So plug into both. Stay connected to your core and to your breath. If you're upright in that Sphinx posture, staying connected to your heart. Always the option to move down towards the floor if the Sphinx posture gets to be too much. Take another breath. Make your way back to the floor, so releasing that bind. And bring yourself all the way down. Stack your forearms or your hands. Make a pillow for your forehead. Shimmy your hips a few times first, and then maybe bend your knees and wiper your feet from side to side. Nice slow rain. Begin to slide your hands underneath your shoulders now. Uncurl your toes, or your knees rather. Curl your toes and press up to supported plank, keeping your spine nice and long and neutral. Walk your knees in underneath your hips. Grab your two blocks now, and we're coming towards a camel pose, but I'm going to give you some options for camel this morning. So bring those blocks next to your heels. You can curl your toes or uncurl your toes. I'm going to take the option for a simple bind at my low back, but if you're able to bring a hand back, maybe swimming into this half camel first, and then taking the full shape, you're more than welcome to do that. Do your best not to drop your head back. Engage the muscles of the throat and the neck. I'm going to take the option to interlace my hands at my low back and work the extension of my spine and my heart. So just pressing into toes, uncurled or curled, belly strong, tailbone reaches towards the floor. Curl your heart up, whether your hands are on the blocks or you're swimming into that half camel. Create that full extension in the spine and engagement to your core. Doing the best that you can to keep those hips over the knees without overdoing it, without crunching your tailbone towards the back of your knees. Just keeping everything fluid and long. Take another breath wherever you landed. Find some balance. Begin to upright yourself. Release your hands, give your arms a little wiggle. And bring yourself down to an easy seat, working that full extension of the spine again. So not curling forward, just staying nice and tall. We came from a big back bend there. So I'm going to bring my little bolster back in and sit my seat right down on that little bolster. Moving into some simple side body stretches. Bring your left fingertips down, your right arm up, and keeping the spine long again, working that extension of side body and back body. Stay long as you stretch it over to the left. Breathe deeply into those ribs. Bring it back to center, bringing your right hand down, left arm rises, take that side bend over to the right. Long breaths. Settle into the exhale. Bring it over to the second side, this time for a twist. Super gentle, so bring the left hand behind your hip, right hand to your knee. Keeping that length in the spine, breathe. Reach your arms up to the sky and we'll twist in the second direction. So bringing left hand to right knee, right hand behind the hip. Take your arms back up to the sky and fold your hands to heart center. Close your eyes, take a breath here. Take a moment to set an intention for your day. An intention, a word, a prayer, a mantra, something that's coming to mind this morning. We might all be awake at this point. I'll invite you this morning to either take a seated meditation for the final portion of the practice or come into something supine. So you can come down to the earth, take a last bend or stretch as you like, and bring yourself towards a shavasana or again a seated meditation. If you're coming down to the earth, take maybe a happy baby or some type of bridge or supported shoulder stand as you like. Last bits of movement as we settle into the final portion and probably the most important portion of our practice, shavasana. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. As you move towards the earth, truly allow yourself to be settled and relaxed in your physical body, in your mind. It's all yours. Give yourself to the breath and start to connect with the waves of inhales and exhales. Perhaps following the line of the breath, belly to ribs to heart, and back down again. Perhaps counting the breath to keep your mind stable and still and focused. Perhaps counting into a 4 count and lengthening the exhale as you begin to settle and relax to a 5 or a 6 count. If your mind has wandered, as it tends to do, reconnect to your breath again. Return gentle movement to your body, perhaps beginning with fingers and toes. Begin to move in a way that serves you as you bring yourself towards a seat. So give your knees a hug, maybe rock from side to side. Roll yourself to the side that chooses you this morning and take a pause, take a breath. Push the reset button. Press into the earth and rise to a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. Sit well, stacking head over heart over hips. Draw your hands to your heart and close your eyes or take your gaze towards the earth. Whether you're reading the Bhagavad Gita and discussing Dharma or Desiderata and staying in your lane. May we all know that the path that we're on is the one in which we go home. Doing the best we can each and every day. Life is not a competition. Yoga is not a competition. competition. Thanks for staying on your mat with me today and for being in your practice and present, in gratitude to you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, Jolynn.
Thanks, Meg. Thanks, Valerie.